Good evening and welcome to Granada Reports, where our region continues to mourn the passing of Her Majesty the Queen.
Good evening. In the northwest, many people are still adding messages and tributes, and many of you have been telling us about your special memories.
Flowers and messages are still being left, and the number of signatures and books of condolence in town halls and churches or cathedrals is growing all the time.
Tonight we hear from some of our best-known actors about the day last summer when the Queen called into Coronation Street.
We'll hear about history in the making when the new king was proclaimed across the northwest.
And what happens now when someone like Neville is celebrating their 100th birthday?
First, though, while Scotland is getting the chance to say farewell to Her Majesty today, people in the northwest have been reflecting on her 70-year reign.
Our correspondent Rob Smith has our first report tonight.
The brightest of focal points to celebrate a monarch's life. This mural, created for the Jubilee, is now a memorial. A community which happily came together months ago at Moreton-on-the-Wirral for 70 years on the throne, now gathering again.
Gave up her life really to serve, and we wanted to have a tribute that was fitting to the Queen. And now that we can use this as a place for people to remember the Queen and place their flowers and pay their respects is a beautiful thing really, and it's been greatly appreciated by the public.
More than 200 miles south, the new king was walking into the Palace of Westminster, a ceremony of sympathy led by Chorley MP and House of Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle.
We have seen that this is a loss that has felt around the world. Newspapers have been filled with photographs of Her late Majesty since the news broke. The most touching have been the glimpses into the family life which we usually kept sheltered from public view. Deep as our grief is, we know yours is deeper.
As His Majesty moved from event to event across London and beyond, those who travelled from the northwest to pay respects witnessed something no one's seen for generations.
I just wanted to remember where I was, so I've been able to come down and share it with my daughter. So it's a massive part of history, isn't it? So more than she's going to learn at school today.
Towns and cities here played their own part in unfolding history, with proclamations of Charles III over the weekend, a tradition from long before news of succession travelled by media.
With one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George become our only lawful and rightful liege Lord Charles III.
One family is linked like few others to the old monarch and the new. Lord Derby, whose family seat is at Knowsley Hall on Merseyside, recalls his son helping the Queen at state occasions.
Ed was her page of honour to carry the Queen's robe for the state opening of Parliament. He obviously learnt from her that he's never revealed any of his private conversations with the Queen. The only thing he did say is, oh, she left her glasses behind one day and I had to run and go and find them for her.
The late sovereign's glasses didn't feature on a life-size crochet made by a group of knitters from Holmes Chapel earlier this year. Today they met to remember and decide how to mark the royal family's next chapter in wool.
We're going to do King Charles proud. So it's something that we're all excited about. It's a new chapter, and I think it'll just be great for the community and the country at whole to come together.
Together in sharing condolences at a family's loss and hope for a family's future. A future changed for all of us, young and old. Rob Smith, ITV News.
And we'll have more of your tributes coming up later, so stay with us for those. But now to tonight's other main news. Police are now searching a golf course near the house where 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell was murdered in Liverpool.
Olivia was shot in her home in Dovecot. Her killer used 2 guns, and police have made repeated appeals for anyone who knows where they are to come forward.
So let's cross live now to police headquarters, where we join Anne O'Connor and tell us the latest. What's been happening?
Well, Lucy, it is 3 weeks tonight since Olivia was killed, and police say this search followed what's called information passed to them about the 2 guns used in that shooting. West Derby Golf Course has been closed to the public all day, as around 50 officers were involved in that search. They were led by the Matrix team, which of course deals with serious and organised crime, helped by officers from specialist units across the force in what's called an extensive search of the land and a stream that runs through it.
There's 50 assets being deployed at the golf course today, and obviously it's an open land-based search, as you've seen today, utilising search assets, search-trained officers, the underwater search team, dog officers, off-road bikes, and our aerial assets as well.
And Anne, just bring us up to date with the investigation. A number of arrests have been made, but no one charged yet.
Yes, Gamal, we're still getting almost daily appeals for information about the murderer and the 2 guns he used. Police want to build up, they say, a picture of evidence about him, whoever might be shielding him, to bring them to justice. 9 men have been arrested in the last 3 weeks. They've been held in custody and questioned on various allegations: murder, attempted murder and assisting an offender. All 9 have been released on bail. The family of Olivia Pratt-Corbell are preparing for her funeral this Thursday. They're asking everyone who comes to wear a splash of pink in her memory.
Anne, thank you.
And we will, of course, stay with the Olivia investigation and bring you any updates when we get there. There's more on the North West's main news and sport on our website, the usual address, itv.com/Granada. And, of course, all our coverage of the region's reaction to the death of our Queen is on there too.
Yeah, so let's get back to that. The Queen's last visit to our region was only last summer. The Bishop of Manchester told us just how much that meant to the city when he spoke to us last week. But that visit also included a trip to the set of Coronation Street. As ever, she charmed everyone who met her and left the cast with many happy memories.
Yeah, I took a trip over to Corrie to talk to some famous faces, starting with William Roach. He'd been on the cobbles nearly 40 years earlier when the Queen came calling.
And Penny One is ideal.
We just moved on to the new set in 1982, and she came with the Duke of Edinburgh, and they stopped at the road. We all stood outside our houses, and they'll never say that they watched the show or liked the show, or I suppose that's only right, because everyone will want to make claim that we were their favourites, although other members of the royal family have said so.
40 years later, Her Majesty was back on the cobbles.
Yes.
Last year. Has she changed much?
What is incredible, her eyes are beautiful blue and very alert, and she doesn't wear glasses. I don't know if she'd had lenses or anything done, but no different. When I first met her, when I was 21 and she was very young, I was a young officer in Jamaica, and she was had just been made Queen and came on the Commonwealth tour. She was so beautiful. I fell in love with her as a person, as an individual. I don't know if that was heresy or something, but she's just a very comforting person to be with. And on the 7 times that I've met her, it's always been the protocol and the rehearsals and the anticipation that's been the problem. Actually meeting her has always been very easy and very delightful and very comforting, and usually full of humour.
I was very fortunate enough to meet Her Majesty twice on 2 separate occasions. First was I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, sort of from a distance really, and that was pretty special. But I think for all of us here at Coronation Street, we had a really special day in the summer of 2021. She came to visit the set. And it was a really strange time, because we were just coming through the pandemic, and none of the staff here at ITV had been together for almost 2 years at this point. And on that day, it just felt like the sun came out and the Queen arrived and we were all together again. And she really spent quality time here. She didn't just kind of whizzed through in 5 or 10 minutes. She was here for a good couple of hours, chatting to people, taking an interest in how we'd worked throughout the pandemic. And we all just felt kind of really honoured to have been part of that really special day. And like I say, she was amazing. She just seemed to kind of glow as she walked around and met everyone and took such an interest in us all. And it really helped everybody else, you know, it brought us all together. It was really special. I think she'll be remembered as somebody that did give her life to her country, and not many people can say that, can they?
I think I thought I would freeze, not remember any of it, and not engage, and it was almost the reverse. She spent 6 or 7 minutes or more with us. It was a proper engaging conversation, and it was only halfway through that I thought, hold on, this is the Queen. She had this incredible ability to be able to key straight into who you were, or where you were, or what the position was. She didn't come in and go, oh, I don't see the show. Or she came in, she went, yeah, I remember being here, and I remember meeting these people, and how are you, and how have you been in the pandemic? She asked real questions. She wanted to know. She didn't just ask a stock question. And that's quite, I think there's something quite beautiful about that.
And on a personal level, Ben, how will you remember Her Majesty?
I think it was an incredible honour for the show to have her come and visit, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And for me, I think it was a real highlight of my career. There I am, at work, with my family, meeting the Queen.
Yeah, such amazing memories there for them. And it's hard to believe that was only last year. Well, now we're going from the Rovers' return to another pub. Many of you will know that there are dozens of pubs in our region that bear the Queen's name, so we're going to one of those next.
Many of us will know a Queen's Head or a Queen's Arms somewhere in the northwest, and at one of them, regulars can now admire a new work of art. Let's join Paul Crone at the Queen's Arms in Manchester. Paul, tell us more.
Yes, good evening, Gamal. It's thought there are around 840 pubs right across the UK that have royal titles in them, things like the Royal Oak, the King's Head, the Queen's Arms, but there's only one Queen's Arms that has this wonderful mural on the side of the pub. We're at the Queen's Arms in Tameside in Greater Manchester. Looks absolutely brilliant. The man behind it, he's the graffiti artist Scott Wilcox. Scott, tell us how you actually got it on the wall.
Right, well, I used stir brushes and I focused on the eyes at first, and once I got all that right, I knew it was going to be all right.
So how long did it take?
It took 6 hours in total just for the portrait, another 2 for the writing.
Because of what it is and who it is, when you were actually doing it during the day, what was the response like?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, we had wagons pulling up just to take a selfie, and I hadn't even finished it.
What do you love most? What strikes me most is Queen Elizabeth II's eyes. They're just vibrant.
Yeah, I think I spent the most of the time on the eyes to get all the little bits of detail in there, the reflections, everything. I always focus on the eyes first.
And you were a mechanic, gave up your job during COVID when you were in furlough,
yeah.
And you become a graffiti artist.
That's exactly right, yeah. Furlough did my first ever one, no practice, and it's just gone on from there.
Are you happy with this?
I love it. It was very emotional. I had the radio going on, everyone was talking about the Queen Elizabeth, and yeah, it was a very emotional piece.
So I know we're undercover, Scott, but I need to ask: will it withstand the northwest weather?
Yeah, definitely. That is really expensive paint. It'll do the job.
It will stay. Well, Scott, you've done a great job. Cara Campbell, general manager. What do the locals make of the mural?
They love it. They absolutely love it. We've had a really good response.
And where did the idea come from to put it on the wall?
My sister had seen Scott's work previously in Prestwich before anything had happened, and then when the news was broken about the Queen dying, we decided we needed to have something up.
Is there something you particularly love? Is there a bit of the mural that you love the best?
Well, Scott's definitely exceeded our expectations. We knew it was going to be good, but this is just unbelievable. It's so lifelike, it's like a picture is on the wall.
It is. It's lovely, and it's going to be there for many, many years to come. And it's at the Queen's Arms at Tameside, just off the main road, if you want to come down and have a look for yourself.
Yeah, what a lovely tribute. Paul, thank you.
Yeah, very good excuse to call in there. Well, let's get on to sports news now. The EFL has confirmed that football fixtures will resume from tomorrow. A minute's silence will be held ahead of tomorrow's Football League matches, which will return after being suspended over the weekend because of the Queen's death. Preston take on Burnley tomorrow, and Blackburn Rovers and Wigan Athletic are also in action. But it has just been announced that Liverpool's game against Chelsea this Sunday has been postponed, as has Manchester United's game against Leeds. Greater Manchester Police say they're now supporting forces across the country ahead of the Queen's funeral.
Staying with the sporting theme, the best of the best often rub shoulders with royalty. Of course they do. And we have no shortage of great sportsmen and women right here in this region.
So that, of course, means no shortage of tributes to the Queen from sport here. David Chisnell caught up with some of our best-known sports personalities to hear more.
Bobby Moore led England up to the Royal Box to receive the Jules Rimet Cup.
From footballing World Cup glory in 1966...
Johnny Wilkinson, he's got it!
To Rugby Union World Champions in 2003. The Queen was an ever-present figure when this country achieved its greatest sporting triumphs. Well, her sporting connections to here in the Northwest went back decades, from attending the Grand National at Aintree as a princess in 1950.
Royal interest centres on the entrant, jointly owned by the Queen and Princess Elizabeth, stately Monaveen.
To presenting Blackpool with the FA Cup trophy in the Matthews final of 1953.
A royal congratulations for Stanley Matthews.
And the opening of the Commonwealth Games in Manchester in 2002.
Miss Menna Fitzpatrick.
The Queen recognised the achievements of this country's greatest sportsmen and women through her honours list. And one of those to be honoured was Macclesfield's visually impaired skier Menna Fitzpatrick. As Great Britain's most decorated Winter Paralympian, she was given an MBE in 2018.
To be honoured by the Queen was absolutely amazing for me. She was such an incredible woman. When I actually was receiving my MBE, I think my hair was in the way. She couldn't quite find the little pin to stick it on, so we were kind of giggling about how my hair was in the way and how she had daughters, that she knew exactly what was going on then, and so it was really nice. She definitely was inspirational for all women to be able to do what she did throughout her life. She kept going. She never stopped. And that's the inspirational thing about it.
There was one sport above all others that was the Queen's passion, and that was horse racing. As an owner and enthusiast, there was nothing more she enjoyed than a day at the races. Not many people were invited into the Royal Box at Ascot, but that was a privilege enjoyed by St Helens-based racehorse owner Marwan Kukash in 2012.
The majority of the people who were at the box were her family. The only two commoners who were there, it's just me and Mandy.
When she entered the room, the first people to greet her was her grandchildren. So that sort of softened. I felt a little bit more at ease, because as soon as she walked in, they curtsied, and then they just run over and give her this big hug, and it was just, I don't know, it was just lovely. It was just, she was just a granny to me. She was just a granny then. I'll always remember this lovely smell and this lovely tiny old lady with not a hair out of place, and makeup was perfect. She was just beautiful.
We started talking to her, and obviously her favourite subject was racing and horse racing. She gave me the winner in the first race. I didn't listen to her, right, unfortunately, but you could see, although it wasn't her horse that won, she was absolutely delighted with herself that, you know, she knew what the winner is going to be.
While Marwan and Mandy enjoyed a less formal occasion with the Queen, she met thousands more sportsmen and women during official engagements. One of those was rugby league legend Alec Murphy, who received his OBE from the Queen in 1998.
I didn't believe it. I actually thought there was somebody just taking a mickey. I cannot believe that the Queen is going to present me with a medal. You're so happy, you're so excited. You don't know what's going to happen. And you definitely don't want to be thought that you could be the one who makes a mistake, because there's a gentleman in there who's the main man. He tells you how to do it. And there's no in-betweens. That is the way, and that's what we accept. When my fingers actually touched her fingers. It was like having kind of something go straight through your body. You know, it was brilliant. It was magnificent.
Now listen. Alec played and coached most of our top rugby league sides. Known as Murphy the Mouth, he was famous for his way with words. But when it came to meeting the Queen, he was on his best behaviour.
She said, "Have I presented you with a cup at Wembley?" I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "Your mother?" She said, "Why not me?" I said, "Because you was a bit too late." And she actually had a little grin about it, you know. And I was so kind of, it took everything. I had a little bit of fear there, and it's unusual for me that. I've never been as proud. She was the best thing that's ever certainly happened to me. What she's done in her life, I'm so proud to be a little part of it.
Alec, along with Marwan, Mandy and Menna, are just 4 of many from the Northwest sporting world, all with special memories of meeting Her Majesty. David Chisnell, ITV News.
So many wonderful stories. Well, as we heard there, the last few days have brought the memories flooding back, and that includes for people on the Isle of Man who met Her Majesty nearly 20 years ago.
Looking to the future, the Manx people have now bestowed a new title on the King, and they're already hoping he'll follow in his mother's footsteps very soon. Our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes has more.
For some, it was flowers. For others, well wishes, as islanders paid tribute to Her Majesty the Queen.
Well, on the Isle of Man and all over the world, probably, she was just a sort of a unifying presence, really.
She was loved by everyone. Even if it wasn't in England, over here, everyone respects her very much. She was a very, very powerful and strong woman.
She holds a very fond place in all of our hearts, which is why we wanted to come and pay our respects today.
She wasn't here that often, but she was still our Lord of Man, and she's very precious.
Throughout her reign, the Queen made 5 official visits to the Isle of Man, the first in 1955.
The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh disembark at Douglas Harbour for their tour of the Isle of Man,
where she received a very Manx welcome.
Who could be better to escort Her Majesty than a squad of TT riders in their racing kit?
The last was in 2003, presiding over the island's Parliament on Tynwald Day, something remembered fondly by Bernadette, leading Her Majesty up Tynwald Hill as the sword-bearer.
She had this aura of calmness, so you couldn't really be jittery, and there was no need. There was just no need. It was a special duty for me. You meet her, and of course I was always the last in line because it would go around all the great and the good and then come to me. And she was just delightful. She was always calm, smiling.
How do you think she will be remembered by people here in the Isle of Man?
With great affection. With great affection and a lot of pride that little bit of her belonged to us.
Tributes to Her Majesty have continued to build here over the weekend. As a Crown dependency, she reigned on this island under the title the Lord of Man, something she now passes on to the King. At the island's royal residence, the official proclamation was made.
The Prince Charles Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord. King, Lord of Man.
Words now bound to the history books as the island enters a new era and continues to pay tribute to a monarch who meant so much to so many. Joshua Stokes, ITV News in the Isle of Man.
Well, next up, we'd like to say a happy birthday to anyone who is 100 this week, and that includes Neville Tonkin in Manchester. But it has been revealed that those special messages of congratulations from the monarch have been temporarily suspended.
It's a tradition that goes back to 1917 and George V. So where does that leave someone like Neville, who is celebrating his 100th birthday today?
Mel Barham went to see Neville to find out.
They said, "You've got a card of the Queen." I said, "What for?" He said, well, you're 100 years old. I said, I'm not. No. Because who's 100 these days? Nobody.
He might not believe it, but Neville Tonkin is 100 today. And to mark his century, he of course got a card from the monarch. But it's a card with added significance.
It must be one of the very last ones she ever signed.
Because rather than coming from the new king, it came instead from Queen Elizabeth in what must have been one of her last.
The best card I've ever had. It is. It is the best card I've ever had.
The card actually arrived last week. No one at the time could have realised quite the significance.
The Tuesday before the Queen died, the post arrived, so we helped him open the card, and I suppose it's pure chance that he received it when he did, and I think it's something that he will continue to think about and remember.
Happy birthday, dear Neville. Happy birthday to you.
When Neville was born in 1922, George V, the Queen's grandfather, was on the throne. He's since lived through 5 monarchs and remembers well the Queen's coronation.
We had to go next door and she had a little TV, and there was a crowd of us all up to the front door.
He was born 4 years before Queen Elizabeth. Growing up in Moss Side, he joined the Navy during the Second World War, aged just 18. He went on to work on the buses and trams in Manchester and was also a sole cutter at the Dunlop's factory. So what's his secret to long life?
I don't feel like an old man. I want to get out and play cricket or football or get on the bike and I love being alive.
And with his treasured birthday wishes from the Queen, Neville, who still lives on his own, says it's a memento he'll always treasure, proving even in death, the Queen is continuing to make her mark. Mel Barham, ITV News, Wythenshawe.
Yeah, very important to stay active, as Neville says. A very happy birthday to you, Neville, from all of us here on the Granada Reports team.
Yeah, here. Now, the weather seems to have taken a bit of a turn for autumn. Let's get the latest from Emma.
Hello there. Well, we have had some rain today, and there is a heavier pulse of rain across the south of our patch at the moment, pushing west to east. It should clear, though, overnight tonight, and last night was exceptionally mild, 15.5 Celsius through parts of Cheshire. The average is 8 or 9 Celsius, and we'll be back down to that overnight tonight. A sunny day beckons tomorrow, and then it's going to be settled but mostly cloudy for the rest of the week and probably beyond as well, and I shall show you why. First of all, then, this is the current setup. Lows to the north and south, some complex fronts in between that, and also these warm vermilion colours you can see over the southernmost half, well, the northern parts of England and the southernmost parts of the country there, and that's down to that combination of low, low and high, which is sucking up this warmer air from over Spain. But you'll see over the next few days everything starts to move and change, and the high builds in from the west, and watch the colours get replaced by some cooler blues, and even the yellows get pushed out of the picture too. The high pressure remains in place, mostly a cloudy high, maybe a spit of rain out of that cloud, but generally staying settled and feeling a little bit cooler, just back down to average for the time of year. So we've got clouds sinking southwards for the rest of this evening and the overnight period. Clear skies by about 9 o'clock this evening onwards through the early hours of the morning, and feeling much fresher than it did last night with only light winds. So a bright start beckons tomorrow, lots of sunshine around. By the afternoon, the sun across the south of the region could turn a little bit hazier. Highs of 20 Celsius, that's 68 Fahrenheit, but generally in the upper teens Celsius, and 17 Celsius for the Isle of Man, that's 63 Fahrenheit. After that, everything stays settled, cloud and sunny spells, maybe a bit more in the way of cloud around on Thursday, and again, as I say, at times the cloud could be thick enough for a spit of drizzle. Bye-bye.
Emma, thank you. And many thanks to all of you at home who've been sharing your stories too.
Yeah, like this one from Tracy Ebril. She says, "This is my granddad with the Queen in the 1960s when she visited Chester Racecourse. He was forever proud to have worked so closely with Her Majesty."
Yeah, this one's from Sarah Doherty. She says this is her husband, Phil. It was taken in Liverpool, probably in the late 1980s. Phil looked like he was on his very best behaviour that day,
Yeah,
Gamal.
something tells me that he was on his
I think
very
he
best
was.
behaviour. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.